Welcome to Bull TV, where we are bullish on Collierville. I'm your host, David Pickler. Bull TV is a monthly show that empowers, educates, and entertains while highlighting the citizens of Collierville who inspire and deliver solutions for a stronger community. Bull TV is presented by Pickler Companies and proudly produced by the students of Collierville High School. We invite you to watch our show at www.bulltv.show, thebullnetwork.com, and CHSTV 19. New episodes air on the second Sunday of every month at 3 p.m. Central Time. On today's show, we sit down with Missy Marshall, Alderman for the town of Collierville and Executive Director of Keep Tennessee Beautiful. Join us as we discuss Missy's passion for public service and maintaining the natural beauty of our state. Don't miss this exciting episode as we hear about Missy's journey towards servant leadership, how she leads others with a heart for service, and why community engagement is so important to her. Today I'm joined by Missy Marshall. Missy serves as Executive Director of Keep Tennessee Beautiful, KTNB. In this position, she provides direction, management, and supervision for KTNB, staff, leadership to 32 Keep America Beautiful affiliates, and a 21-member Citizen Advisory Board appointed by the Governor. A Maryville native, she received a Bachelor of Science in Communication from Middle Tennessee State University, where she focused on public relations and minored in business administration. She's also a graduate of LEAD Tennessee, the state government's premier leadership training initiative. Missy is a member of the Keep America Beautiful Board of Directors, the Advisory Board for the Shelby Residential Vocational Services, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Board of Directors, and she served as an alderman for the town of Collierville. Missy came to KTNB with over 20 years' experience in public service. She began her career in state government as a public health educator for the Tennessee Department of Health. Since joining KTNB in July of 2013, Missy has led the team to receive national awards from Keep America Beautiful. In 2015, she was the recipient of the Alma Bucavez Urban Service Award. During her state tenure, Missy has had the distinct honor to serve on the legislative team that assisted the legislature with establishing the Tennessee Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. Missy lives in Collierville, Tennessee with her husband Barry. They enjoy spending time boating and traveling with their children Alex, Blake, Addie, and Barrett. Missy, thank you for joining us on Bull TV.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're glad to have you. Had a lot of long words in that introduction there.
I know, sorry.
No, it's all great. And glad to see you're a proud graduate of MTSU.
Yes, my blood runs blue.
There we go.
University of Memphis, too.
There we go. Well, blue in both areas. So that's awesome. Well, we're going to start off with kind of an easy question, because what we try to do is really get to know who you are. So in 3 words, who is Missy Marshall?
That's hard in 3 words, but I'm passionate, very passionate of all things. Mm-hmm. I'm driven and loyal.
Very good. I love that. So Missy, what would you say is your favorite part of living and serving here in Collierville?
Oh, gosh, there's many favorite parts. As you stated, I grew up in Maryville and went away to college. And I always say I was raised in East Tennessee. I have spent the majority of my career in Middle Tennessee, and I call West Tennessee home. So Collierville's the first place that really just feels home. you know, that place that you always want to go back to. And so I think one of the favorite parts of living here is the sense of community, that still small town feel. I still see people I know in the grocery store, even before I was elected, which I loved. Just the Friday night lights, how we came together during adversity. I don't know, I just love everything about Collierville. And my favorite thing about serving is just being able to use some of the gifts and talents that God's blessed me with to help others.
Well, you know, Maryville has a nice little legacy of leadership with our former Senator Lamar Alexander, which I believe is from Maryville.
Yes, he is.
And so I'm sure Lamar is okay with being the second most important person from Maryville now.
I don't know about that, but...
Well, that's great. So you've already had, at your young age, a long and impressive career in public service. Talk to me a little bit, if you would, about the journey that you've had towards serving in state government and throughout your leadership career.
Right. Well, I did not seek to be in state government, just so you know. I went to college at MTSU, as you stated, and I started in broadcast journalism. Okay. And about 1 year into that, my advisor was like, you know, Missy, you can work in broadcasting without a broadcasting degree, but it's hard to get a degree in other fields if you're limited to a broadcasting degree. So I changed my major to public relations, mass communications. And right there in Middle Tennessee, one thing about MTSU is they had a great placement office. And here I thought I was going to go down the path of either being a Barbara Walters, you know, or owning my own PR firm. And in this placement office, they put your credentials in there, and I got called for an interview at the state of Tennessee. And it was for it was a health promotions coordinator. Okay. And so, which was basically a health educator. And then I had another interview with a small marketing company. I chose the state government route with not knowing what I was getting into. But God knows more about us than we do and has bigger plans for us. And so I started that journey in the basement of the Dickson County Health Department as a health promotions coordinator / public educator. And I served in the rural areas of Dickson, Humphreys, and Houston counties. That's great. So are you telling me that you didn't aspire to the Barbara Walters role and wanted to make everyone cry on camera? No, I just wanted to be a responsible journalist, you know. I wanted to be able to just bring information that educated people on world events or local events or state events. And I don't know, God had different plans. There you go. Well, I'll try to avoid crying today. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the role that you play as Alderman for the town of Collierville. And we're just talking about today that you're currently serving, I guess, your first full term. Well, I'm running for my first full term. That's right. You're running for your first full term because you served completion of a term from former Alderman Tom Allen. Yes. And you're actually on the ballot right now for election. Yes, sir. Well, good luck for you on that. Thank you. So how does your unique role impact our residents as an alderman? Well, I think just public servant first. I'm a public servant at heart. And when the opportunity actually became available, and unfortunately, in an unfortunate circumstance, and I think that it's important to always recognize people that have served, and Mr. Allen passed away while in service to our town. And a lot of people thought very highly of him. He was a veteran, and he'd done a lot for our town, and it was big shoes to fill. And so I actually called someone else and said, I'd like to see you run for this role. Because I've always been kind of a person behind the person. I always say I wrote speeches, I didn't give them. and so I wanted this person to run, and she respectfully declined after about 36 hours of consideration. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I do have knowledge, and never admitted to having a lot of knowledge on the local level, but I did kind of grow up in state government and had quite a career there, and felt like it was important at that time to use my experience and hopefully a little bit of knowledge to help keep our town on the right track. And so that experience of running for office was something else. I like the policy. I don't like the politics. I'm a problem solver, and I think being in this position allows me to use my talents and my desire to serve others. And constituent services is one of my favorite things, but for the town, being able to allocate our resources to make sure that public safety is important, our infrastructure, our roads, our schools, making sure that quality of life is there. So.
Well, I know that you wear a couple of hats, but before we leave the alderman role, over the past few years that you've been able to serve, what's been the thing that you've been most proud of in terms of the accomplishment either that you've done yourself or that you've been a part of?
Well, I think in roles like this, it's never one person.
Of course.
It's definitely a team. And so anything that's been accomplished, it's been as a team, as the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. But I think the thing I'm most proud about is not just the mayor and the board, but the community. And forgive me how we came together during adversity, during the shooting. The Collierville Kroger shooting, when our chief of police and our fire chief stood there, our first responders, they were ready, they were equipped, and I can't take credit for that. I can only give that credit to the leaders before me, that they provided those resources and where those first responders could get the training, and just seeing the response from our community. I think in the short, almost 2 years that I've been here, that is the thing I'm most proud of, is just how all of us as a community came together.
Well, there's so much pride in what we're able to accomplish as a community coming forward, and certainly we've had our police chief on this show. In fact, he was on right after this happened, and he could not have been stronger in his praise for the town, for the community, for the support that he gets from the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. But also, I think the culture that is created in Collierville, that really, I think, created the environment for all these other first responders to come forward and help. Yes. And everyone really wanted to pull together to keep Collierville strong and keep Collierville proud. And so thank you for the work that you do in that regard.
It's an honor to do it.
So let's talk a little bit about Keep Tennessee Beautiful. And so you serve as our executive director in that. And in this, I really see that you have the opportunity to inspire Tennesseans to take action and to beautify their community environment. Why is this organization so important to you?
Well, first of all, I think it stems from just being a public servant and loving our state. Having served our state since right out of college, growing up in East Tennessee, and as I stated, Middle Tennessee was the majority of my career, and then West Tennessee being home. Understanding from Memphis to Mountain City, just the beauty of our state and what it has to offer, and that sense of community pride, and I think that's really, too, what kind of equipped me as an alderman is I go across our state and I meet with community leaders.
Exactly.
And encourage them to instill that sense of pride, because Keep America Beautiful is a behavioral change organization. And so I always say at Keep Tennessee Beautiful, we're not in the shame game, for people littering and not doing their part. We're in the change game. We want to change behavior. We want to encourage that sense of community pride, because when you love something, you really pour into it, and there's different ways to do that. And so, I'm very passionate about Keep Tennessee Beautiful, and I wasn't even looking for that position. I was looking to come to West Tennessee, but and my husband was like, "You can get a job, you can get a job anywhere with your experience and relationships." And I said, "I don't want a job. Anybody can have a job. I want a mission."
There you go.
And so that's why Keep Tennessee Beautiful is so important. Every day, my team and I get up and we get to carry out a mission.
I love that. You talk about the fact that you love policy, you're not such a fan of politics, but I find it interesting that here you are, someone who is working very hard in both the political spectrum and servant as an alderman, but also in this great mission that you had through Keep Tennessee Beautiful. And it kind of reminds me of another great American who, when I think of a beautification program, I go all the way back to, I think, the 1960s. And a lady by the name of Lady Bird Johnson, who, she was one of the first people I remember really going out there and promoting keeping, in that case, Texas in America Beautiful.
Yes.
And I think her focus was on road signs and things of that nature.
Yes.
But she brought together, the world of politics and the world of policy to try to change behavior, even back in the 1960s.
Yes, yes. I think whether it's litter, whether it's illegal dumping, beautification, it's something that all Americans, Tennesseans, citizens can come together on. Nobody wants to see, unsightly things along our roadsides, in our natural areas like the streams and the mountains. And I just think that was very insightful of her to use something, and especially that would be great in this day and time, to bring people together. Because there's so much divisiveness in our country. And I think one thing we can all agree upon is we want clean, green, and safer communities, regardless of what our politics are.
So Missy Marshall, this generation's Lady Bird Johnson.
I don't know about that. Maybe in Collierville.
There we go. We'll go for
Tennessee.
that. Well, so during your tenure, the month of March has been recognized as Keep Tennessee Beautiful Month by the governor. How can Tennesseans get involved with helping keep Tennessee beautiful?
Gosh, there's so many ways. First, we obviously advocate for personal responsibility. If that means recycling, that one little thing, if that means using a reusable water bottle and not having a ton of plastics, participating in cleanups or organizing a cleanup. One way, I can tell you one way I would love to see Tennesseans get involved.
What's that?
Go to trashersizetn.org, which is an initiative that Keep Tennessee Beautiful is encouraging across the state. And we borrowed the idea from a community leader in Leapers Fork.
Okay.
There was a roadside into Leapers Fork Village that led to a landfill. And so as you can imagine, there was a lot of litter on the roadside. And just for the record, a lot of litter you see on 385. There's a lot of trucks going to a landfill that those loads aren't covered. So go back to this community leader that said, you know what, we can do something about this. He and his wife were going to the gym one day, so we're going to pay someone to work us out, and we can come get a workout, giving back to our community.
There we go.
So after our shelter in place and COVID, if you think about the places that we could go, we could go outdoors. We could go, to our parks, our natural areas, our lakes.
Go hiking.
Yes, and we could go to home improvement stores or grocery stores. I don't know about you, but what we started to see was a lot of this personal protective equipment, like masks and gloves, in the parking lots. And so
absolutely.
That prompted me that year, Keep Tennessee Beautiful Month, that year during Keep Tennessee Beautiful Month, to call the gentleman that started this program, Mr. Aubrey Preston, and said, I'd really like to take Trashercise across Tennessee. We've all been cooped up. We can do something that is healthy for ourselves and healthy for our community. Would you be okay with me borrowing your program? And he said, Missy, it's not a program. It's an action. It's a verb.
There we go.
And so I was like, perfect. And so during that month, March 2020, we launched during Keep Tennessee Beautiful Month, March 1st through May 31st in Tennessee is the Great American Cleanup Period. And so that's driven by Keep America Beautiful, where they want every community across America to do at least one cleanup or one beautification project. So we launched Trashercise across Tennessee. It's something you can do as a community group, or if you're a walker, or a hiker, it's something that you can do on your own. So that's one way you can get involved.
I love that.
Yes, I love it. Trashercise.
Trashercise. Now, you said that was in 2020. Has that been continued the last couple of years as well?
Yes. So, yes, because we're like Trashercise 2.0, we are not stopping until we have Trashercised in all 95 counties.
Okay.
And so, and we don't want it to be a program. We just kind of want it to be a way of life. So if you're a walker and once a week, you're committed to taking a bag with you and some gloves.
Okay.
Go to Trashercise acrosstennessee.org.
Okay.
And register as a Trasherciser, and we'll send you a water bottle.
I love that. Keep Tennessee beautiful, maybe even lose a couple of pounds.
Yes, get fit and give back.
I love it. That is great. So, tell our viewers a little bit, if you would, about your 21-person Citizens Advisory Board, which is appointed by the governor. Tell us a little bit about that organization.
Yeah, so as we stated, Keep Tennessee Beautiful is actually a grant-funded program to the University of Memphis.
Okay.
And it has been at the University of Memphis. Next year it'll be 40 years.
Wow.
And one of the reasons it's at the University of Memphis is the pioneers for this movement were from Memphis.
Okay.
And it started as a Clean Tennessee Act. And they went, and you mentioned Governor Lamar Alexander earlier, and they lobbied for a Clean Tennessee movement.
Okay.
And the Department of Transportation was going across the street to the legislature saying, we've got to spend more money to clean up our highways. And a lot at that point were bottles and cans. So the bottling industry of Tennessee stepped up. And they said, you know what, we want to be part of the solution to the problem. It might be their product, but the product doesn't get there by themselves.
Right.
And so the proceeds for this program actually come from the beverage industry of Tennessee. And it funnels through the state of Tennessee, and then the Department of Transportation's beautification office is who manages that.
Okay.
And so this grant has been there, and we have an advisory board that is appointed by the governor, and it consists of not only 14 citizens across the state that maybe come from the Grocers Association, of course the bottling industry, the Malt Beverage Association, the Beverage Association, Economic Community Development has a representative, the Higher Education has a representative. On my board right now, we have a representative from the District Attorneys Association.
Okay.
So law enforcement. There's 3 E's that this board and this organization focuses on: education, engagement, and enforcement. We like for enforcement to be the last resort, but we're hoping if we educate people that and engage them, will inspire them to change their behavior and do things. So this board, it consists of economic community development, agriculture, TDOT, the Environment and Conservation, Grocers Association I mentioned. We have someone from For Memphis Magazine, so we want someone on there that can help us tell our story.
There you go.
So it's very strategic, and they do serve at the pleasure of the governor, and he appoints them, and I just administer the grant.
Wow, that's great. Now, this is a question you may not know the answer to, but you talked about the enforcement side of the equation. Is there any relationship at all between your board, your organization, and the environmental court here in Shelby County?
It's funny you say that. Well, the first environmental judge, who actually was the father of the environmental courts, was Judge Larry Potter.
Without question.
And he was my first chairman. I am the first director of Keep Tennessee Beautiful.
Okay.
The first lady was Edith Heller, and we actually have an Edith Heller Award in her honor, because she really pushed for that Clean Tennessee movement. And she and Judge Potter were the ones that actually started this movement. And when he retired from the environmental courts, and he helped start several environmental courts in the state, he recommended a gentleman named Steve Barlow, who he's kind of the blight fighter in Memphis, and started the Neighborhood Preservation Act. He went and worked to get that passed, and so he was highly recommended by Judge Potter. So yes,
love it.
Absolutely.
So I'm guessing that Prince Mongo's never been on your board?
He is not, no. But he has been in Judge Potter's court.
Yes, repeatedly.
Yes.
In 2020, you were the recipient of the Sue Smith Professional Leadership Award, and it's given to those who put their communities first. Why is community so important to you, and how did you discover this passion that you have for serving your fellow citizens?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I guess I believe that we are supposed to use our time, our talents, our resources, our God-given gifts to help other people. And like I said, it wasn't my plan to go into public service, but I believe God orchestrated every bit of it. And I just believe we're here for a greater purpose than ourselves. And community, that sense of community is that sense of belonging, no matter what your background is. And I just think we're here for a very short time on this earth, and while we're here, we're supposed to be here to make it better, and that's why it's important to me.
It's very important to be significant in what you do.
Have a purpose.
You talked a little bit about some of the leadership opportunities you've had, but we talked about the fact that you're a graduate of a program called Lead Tennessee.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about the impact of this training initiative and how it has impacted your career, your life.
Wow, it was very significant. So I'm part of the, I was part of the second class of Lead Tennessee, and in my years in state government, one of the things, and we have this even in local government right now, we're about to have a significant turnover in our local leadership, from our town administrator to our planning director. We just hired the new fire chief, and so we have those same challenges in state government. And one of the things that they wanted to do to help prepare for that was to prepare future leaders in state government.
Right.
And so our commissioners had the opportunity to nominate individuals within the organization to go through this 12-month leadership program. And they focus on 8 kind of pillars of leadership. And at the end of that 12 months, the idea is to be equipped to step up and be a leader, whether it's in a state department, any type of state leadership role. Right. And so it was really significant to me to know that. To me, that's one of the most important things that we're facing right now.
No question.
Is leadership development and
building that bench.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's. I think you had Molly Walker on your show.
We did
before, and I look at her and I'm like, she's our future. She's someone that, when I see her passion, and even though she has a purpose in this area, she has leadership abilities. And
no question.
I think true leaders develop other leaders. And fortunately, I had a commissioner that believed in me and nominated me for that, and that really kind of. I already had that fire in my belly, but it motivated me more to just constantly work on being a better leader.
I love it. I love it. Now, as we mentioned earlier, you wear a lot of hats.
Yes.
And so over the course of your career, you've had the opportunity to serve in several executive positions. You served as legislative liaison for 8 state departments. You've 9 commissioners, on the team of 3 governors. So what has been the most rewarding aspect of this incredible career that you've had?
Well, the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. Being able to really kind of be a voice for the voiceless. Working for a commissioner who lived firsthand having a child with disabilities. Being able to give a seat at the table. Again, it wasn't me. I just had the honor of being part of a team that helped work with the legislature to establish a seat at the table for individuals with disabilities.
Right.
Prior to the department being created, they were a division, first Division of Mental Retardation Services. And being able to work towards even changing that
the mindset,
label.
The label.
Yes. There were some pretty not, just some words in our code that, years ago that referred to people with disabilities as if they weren't even people. And so I think that's the greatest part, the most rewarding part of my career, is to have been able to be part of a movement and a team that improved the quality of life for people who had disabilities, and be able to promote and focus their abilities and not focus on their disabilities.
Yeah, I can't tell you how proud I am to hear you say those things. we cannot have throwaway lives in this
Right.
world. That every life has value, every life has purpose. And, coming from someone, myself, my wife is a special education teacher.
Oh, I didn't-
My entire family and her family, come from a background in special education and intellectual development. And you're right. I mean, we need to make sure that we're advocating
Yes.
for each child, and for the opportunity for each child to contribute and to have the greatest life they possibly can.
Yes.
And you're right, it does start with changing our mindset.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's very, very important. So well, God
Yes.
bless you for that work. That's, that truly is God's work when you do that.
Well, I truly believe He placed me there.
No question. So in your tenure, you've gained various Keep America Beautiful affiliates, and also been instrumental in establishing some really core partnerships that have involved in the TVA,
Yes.
apparently a former SEC football coach,
Yes.
and a cartoonist of all things. So talk to me a little about some of these partnerships. I love this idea of these amazing partnerships and how they have made an impact on the volunteer state.
Yeah. So as I stated earlier, Keep Tennessee Beautiful is a mission-based organization.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we do, we're driven by a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I was faced with when I came in as the third director, we had Edith Teller, who was the pioneer
Right.
that established it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Sutton Mora Hayes, who I've got to, I got to credit her. She's with the Memphis Community Foundation.
Oh, sure.
She was standing on those steps the day they announced the fund for the victims of the Collierville shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was the second director. And I always call her the change agent. And then I came in, and it was to take the part of that plan, the mission that Edith instilled, the strategic plan, the communication plan, bringing us into the 21st century that Sutton did, and then I got to throw a little bit of what I thought needed to happen
Sure.
in there. And so I was like, there's been some great work done. It was the 30-year anniversary when I came aboard. And, but we got to tell our story. There's been all this great work done, but the story hasn't been told. How do we do that? And nobody does anything alone. And the power of partnerships is so impactful.
No question.
And so I sought to find people, because one of the things that I am charged with as the leader of Keep Tennessee Beautiful, when the mission's educate and inspire people to take action every day to improve their community environments, I'm charged with being a leader of those local leaders.
Right.
And sometimes they're one-man shows. And so I've got to keep them inspired, and I got to keep them encouraged. And so the SEC coach, Coach Fulmer, he had some experience in building some championship teams. And I felt like one of my roles was to build championship teams for our mission. And we were at an economic community development conference, and he had spoke. And afterwards, a colleague had connected us, and he said, if I can ever do anything, for your mission, boom. I was like, I need a spokesperson. I need someone that can help tell our story and inspire people. And so that's where that came about.
Okay.
And he was one of our keynote speakers, and then he did a public service announcement for us, which was wonderful. And then we also have to use tools for education. And I was getting a lot of requests to do a coloring book, and I was like, the coloring books are great, but we need a tool. We need an educational tool, a marketing tool, and a fundraising tool.
Okay.
And in this coloring book, the reason that connection came about, it was a local in Nashville, the Keep Nashville Beautiful affiliate, had worked with Guy Gilchrist, who was the artist for the Muppets.
Certainly.
And so when they connected us, I was like, what do you think about a children's book? And it's all things Tennessee. And so I brought you a copy over there.
Oh, wow.
And my goal was to get it in Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. But one of the requirements for that is it has to be in every public library across the state.
Okay.
And we did that. We have it in every public library across the state.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so, and then we based it a lot off the Tennessee Blue Book, just pride in Tennessee. So starting young with our kids. So that was another strategic partnership and the train of thought. And one of the things that I really focus on is, if you want to be a partner with Keep Tennessee Beautiful, you have to have passion for the mission. It cannot be, something to self-promote or drive your product.
Right.
It has to be someone that really has a passion for all things Tennessee and the people of Tennessee. So.
Well, I mean, what an amazing mission. And to me, when we think about, the fragility of our planet and the amazingness of our natural resources, and when you drive across the state, you're constantly just, I think, amazed by the beauty of our state.
Yes.
And the diversity of our state and all the amazing things that we have. And so, to me, what an incredible mission. And again, thank you for all you're doing. So, of all the things that you've done, and the work with developmentally challenged children, and the work as an alderman, and the work with Tennessee Beautiful, what inspires you the most in life?
Gosh, I think to make a difference. And starting with my family and my children. I mean, I was one of those people that maybe didn't set out to be a mom and a career. And I think just leaving people in places better than I find them. And hopefully that starts with the children that God has instilled, for me to take care of. So I think, just raising really good human beings that will continue the good work. That inspires me pretty much.
That's awesome. So what do you think has been so far the most challenging aspect of your career?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm pretty blessed. I tell my kids that the best jobs in the world are ones that don't feel like work. And I have just been so blessed with mission-driven work. I think challenging sometimes is getting people, on board. And
getting to share your passion?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I was once told, if you expect everybody to feel the way that you do about things and want things the way that you do, you're going to be disappointed, and...
Yeah, but then you keep trying.
Yes, exactly. I just think, well, you know what? It's not going to let me down. It's just, maybe just helping people see the importance of helping other people,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you've already talked a little bit about this, and so, but I do feel because it's so important, I don't want to give any short shrift to anything, but you assisted in establishing the Tennessee Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. If you would talk about the importance of this department and the impact of this department on Tennesseans.
Wow. Gosh. So when I first was kind of recruited to go to the Division of Mental Retardation Services, I was like, are they just just wanting to put me somewhere, and I was called, one of the governors that I worked for was Governor Bredesen, and I was called by his head of, his director of legislation, and she said, there was a 21-year lawsuit in Tennessee. It took 21 years and you may be familiar with it, the Arlington Development lawsuit. And then there was a Brown lawsuit, a waiting list lawsuit, because there were people in Tennessee with disabilities that were not receiving services.
Correct.
And, and I had worked in public health, and I had worked in the traumatic brain injury program, and I had saw, for those that are blessed, like ourselves, who have children that are thriving, but there were also people who had children that had a ATV accident at the age of 12, or maybe at the age of 18 and a half. And I saw the disparity there, that you may have a child that is born full functioning with, a normal IQ, but then they have an accident right after the age of 18 and they don't qualify for services.
Correct.
And they kind of fall between, the cracks. And to see so many people in Tennessee waiting, the impact, we're one of now. Tennessee is one of the best states in the nation for services to people with disabilities.
Correct.
They have employment first programs. You mentioned SERVS, Shelby Residential Vocational Services, right here in Shelby County, is, if not the best, one of the top two best in the state. serving and advocating for people with disabilities and providing opportunities for employment. And just, just because somebody has a disability doesn't mean they don't love things the way we do or have passion to do things. They might be challenged with the ability to do it, but just that impact in Tennessee is just, it's just been phenomenal to see. We went from a state that was highlighted nationally for abuse and neglect, which started the Arlington lawsuit. Yes. To a state that is leading in the nation, supporting people with disabilities.
As I said, I cannot tell you how much we appreciate, and I think the people of Tennessee are so blessed by these type of services, this type of approach, this type of mindset. I've been involved for many years with the Memphis Oral School for the Deaf, yes. And which is, whenever I take people on a tour of the school that takes children who are born profoundly deaf.
I've been on that tour.
And I'll say, and they'll walk in and they'll be surprised to hear all the noise. And I'll say it's the loudest deaf education school that you'll ever hear, because of the fact that we take children from a life of limitations to a life of limitless possibilities. Yes. Yes. And that's exactly what this department does in Tennessee. Yes. And the work that you have spearheaded. Yes. It really is opening the opportunities for a life of incredible opportunities for the children.
I have to say I did not spearhead it. I do have to tell you that. There was a gentleman named Jim Henry and another gentleman, Jimmy Navy, that actually traveled the state several years ago, all across the state, meeting with services, people who provided services for people with disabilities. I think they spearheaded it.
Jimmy Navy is an incredible man and an incredible legacy here in West Tennessee. Yes. For all the things that he has done. Yeah. Great legislator, great leader. What would you say would be the best career advice that you could give our viewers?
Wow. One, don't give up, but just be led more by that leader within, that passion within. Find a mentor, and don't give up. I mean, just, follow your heart, follow your passion. Yeah.
I love it. You're such an incredibly active member of so many different civic organizations. Talk to me a little bit and talk to our viewers a little bit about the importance of civic engagement.
Well, we talk about what a great community that we live in here in Collierville, and I think about it's the people, the families that live here, and then the organizations like the Rotary Club, Leadership Collierville. I love going to Rotary Club, service over self. I absolutely love seeing a room full of people that truly have a heart to serve. And I think that it's that civic service is really what contributes to a quality community. It's just really caring about other people.
Could not possibly agree more. What has been, and this may be a hard one for you, what has been the proudest moment or moments in your life?
Well, I think first making my mom proud.
That's a darn good one.
Yeah, I think, making her proud. And then watching my children, accomplish their goals, to, actually achieve things they set out for. I guess being a proud mom.
That's awesome. What individual has made the greatest impact on you in your life?
Aside from Jesus Christ, my mother, hands down. For many years, my mother was a single mother.
Oh.
Had a 6th grade education. I always thought it was a 9th grade education. I didn't know till she passed that she was the baby of 14.
Goodness.
But she always instilled in us that you could do anything you want to do as long as you're willing to work for it. Even if you got to work 3 jobs or several hours a day. Just that work ethic and the golden rule, treating others the way you would want to be treated, and just her drive to want better for my sister and I than she had for herself.
Wow, that's a great one. Now, Missy, here we are filming inside this amazing school, with these incredible kids here at Collierville High School. what would be the message that you would have for the students here at Collierville High as it relates to leadership?
Relate to leadership is being a leader is being willing to serve. Being a leader is lifting other people up before yourself. And if you and we all, I truly believe we all have a leader within.
Sure.
And if we depend on other people to pull that out, there's always this debate that leaders are born. I think you can be born with maybe some leadership traits, but I think leaders are developed, and to constantly just be working on that self-awareness, be driven by that voice and not your ego.
I love it. You got a long way to go. and we're so proud of the service that you provide here in this community as well as across the state. But when you, at some point in the future, when you reflect on your career, what would you hope would be your legacy?
Oh, well, I guess that people saw that being a servant leader, making a difference in this short time that we're here on earth, that I always a change maker, a world changer, just truly just serving others, that she, I always say I want people to say she loved life and she loved living life for the people she loved.
I love it. Now, I have to tell you that you're a bit of a legend here. Because I believe that, because I've asked that question to all of our guests, and I believe that you have been named at least a couple of times in terms of the most influential person they met in their life. And so a little bit nervous about meeting you today because, I said, there's the myth, there's the legend of Missy Marshall, but what an amazing person you are, what an amazing life that you've lived, what an amazing impact that you have. I'm just blown away by the passion that you have for everything you do, and that you the way you deliver that for our state, for our community. Collierville is so blessed to have you as our alderman.
Thank you.
And the state of Tennessee is so blessed to have you in the leadership role you have with Keep Tennessee Beautiful. So keep going. Keep fighting, keep advocating for all these great passions and services that you have, because we need people like you. We need leaders like you.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for being a guest here on Bull TV.
Well, I appreciate you having me. If I can just, and it is not me. Every day it's by the grace of God I go. I always say I asked God into my life when I was 18, and I surrendered my life to Him in 2013. And I think if we all ask the question, God, what do you want me to do? And then ask Him to equip you to do it, we'll have a generation of leaders out there.
That's exactly the right way to go. So, well, God bless you.
Thank you. Thanks.
I normally begin these My 2 Cents segments with an inspirational quote from a prominent individual. The idea is that the simple quote can encapsulate the key points of our comments and set the stage for my remarks. When I was considering the work of Keep Tennessee Beautiful, as it relates to keeping our environment clean and preserving our incredible natural resources for the future generations through recycling and other programs, my mind immediately went back 50 years to the year 1972. While I was only a teenager at the time, I had the very distinct recollection of the first time I saw the public service announcement featuring the great American actor, Iron Eyes Cody. In 1972, we were not being very good students of our planet. Many of our factories were expelling large amounts of pollution into our air and waters. Our car emissions were turning the air we breathe into yellow, hazy smog. Some of our Great Lakes were in the process of literally dying due to massive pollution and abuse. In our haste to build a great industrial power, we were destroying our spaceship Earth. There was active conversation about NASA space projects setting the stage for when we would need to abandon the Earth after we destroyed our home planet. Across our 1972 television sets, and yes, complete with up to 3 local channels and 1 public broadcasting network, we see the image of a proud Native American paddling a canoe on a pristine lake on an early morning. But then we see the canoe begin to encounter refuse and pollution, and the beautiful scene returns into industrial wasteland, with black smoke bellowing out of smokestacks and litter dominating the shoreline. As Iron Eyes Cody pulls his canoe out of the dying waterway onto a polluted shore, we witness this proud Native American walk to the edge of a highway. From this vantage point, instead of a beautiful countryside, he sees lanes of cars emitting pollution into the air and people discarding their waste onto the roadways. The indelible image was then of Iron Eyes Cody turning to look directly into the camera, with a single tear rolling down his face. This message was delivered without a single word uttered, and yet was one of the most powerful images I can ever recall, even after 50 years. I've often heard that a single picture can be worth 1,000 words. Well, this one image of Iron Eyes Cody crying became the face of the Keep America Beautiful campaign that, in my mind, created the environmental movement for change in our nation today. We are all passengers on this spaceship Earth. Our survival as a species is dependent on our ability to preserve and protect our environment. None of us really own anything on this planet. We're all merely custodians and stewards for future generations. I've been blessed to travel to every state in our union and many amazing places across our globe. I have marveled at the incredible beauty and majesty of our planet. But these natural resources are fragile and can be destroyed by our misuse and abuse. The work of organizations such as Keep Tennessee Beautiful is essential to ensuring that our children's children and many generations beyond can enjoy a clean, safe, and beautiful planet upon which to live. The image of Iron Eyes Cody crying that single tear reminds all of us that the power that each of us possesses to change our world, for good or bad. Thank you to Missy Marshall and Keep Tennessee Beautiful for the work you are doing to preserve and protect our environment. And that is my 2 cents. Until next time, I'm your host, David Pickler. Thank you for watching Bull TV, where together we deliver solutions for a stronger community.